Hello everybody! You might be wondering why there are all these motorcycles in our normal production facility right now and why this video is so strange. Well, if you've been following the news, you've seen that Texas has undergone a very serious cold weather snap and subsequent basically unraveling of society here. The energy grid, because it's so cool and self-reliant, basically failed. All of our electrical grids are not weatherproof here. They're not built for cold weather because we thought it'd be cool to save money on that and not prepare for the future. And then our Senator Ted Cruz is out in Cancun while all of this is happening. But politics aside, I thought today would be a great opportunity to show you guys how to move a motorcycle around a shop or a garage. I thought of this video because I actually have to move all of these bikes out of this garage, and I was like, well, I can use this as a teachable moment to show you guys how to move your own bikes in your own shop and garage. We recently brought on a new team member called Whitney. I'm sure you've seen her in some of our videos here in the last few weeks. And the other day, she was moving her BMW into the shop, and I noticed she was waddling and having a bit of trouble moving it into the shop. And it's not because she's a woman, it's not because she's too weak. I want to show you guys today that you can move a motorcycle with very little effort around a shop in a lot of different types of ways in order to manipulate it through different types of spaces. So today, I'm going to show you a bunch of different tips and tricks I've learned in moving a bunch of motorcycles around my shop here. Let's get into it. But first, I probably need to move all of these out of the way, so bear with me. Alrighty guys, we've cleared out the garage and we have our demonstration bike, our Kawasaki Z650. You can hit the links down below to yammie.co to find out how you can get entered to win this bike for free, along with the CBR 500R, a street scrambler, and all kinds of other cool bikes. Don't miss it, I'm giving it away. So, this is our bike for today because it tends to be the most standard and normal bike of the shop. It's not some big low slung cruiser or some big fat heavy Hayabusa. It's probably most similar to the bike you have at home. So we're gonna walk over 3 methods today. Number 1 is gonna be the waddle method. So this is probably the method you've probably been using at home. It's the simplest and most effective way to move a motorcycle, but it's not the most robust way, and there's honestly better ways to move a bike that I'm gonna show you. Number 2 is gonna be the way that I'm talking about right now. It's the method of moving it when you're standing next to it and holding the bars. I'm going to show you guys that. And number 3, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and more advanced methods of moving a motorcycle you might not have thought of in your own garage as well. Let's get started with the waddling method. Alright guys, so as I mentioned, the first method we're looking at to move a bike around a shop or garage is the waddle method, and as the name implies, this method just means that you're going to get on your motorcycle, pull the kickstand up. It's obviously not turned on. You have the bike in neutral. Keep both hands on the handlebars right here and just kind of waddle the bike forward and backwards. Now, this method's great if you just need to get the bike forward or backwards. You don't need to position it to the side or get it into a nook and cranny somewhere. This method will get you pretty far down the road if you need to move a bike somewhere, but it's honestly not the most efficient. However, it is the most safe. It is very difficult to drop a motorcycle if you have both feet flat on the ground, both feet on the handlebar here, balancing it and just waddling it down. If the bike tips over on one side, you can very quickly just kind of lean it back up this way. On the other side, very quickly lean it back this way. It's pretty dang hard to tip over a motorcycle when you are waddling it down the garage like this. So if you're concerned about dropping your bike and you're just getting used to moving it forward and backwards, definitely start out with this method. But now let's look at method number 2. Alright guys, method number 2 is the method that I use here in the shop to move all of our bikes, and I call it the standing method. So what you want to do is approach your motorcycle from the kickstand side. You don't want to manipulate the motorcycle from this side, especially if you're going to be lifting the kickstand up, because if the bike goes over in one direction, it's going to fall. If it goes over in this direction, it's going to fall as well. So to give yourself the best chance possible, get over on this side with the kickstand, so that way if you need to pull the bike towards you, it's not going to fall and it's going to hit the kickstand. The first thing you want to do when you approach a motorcycle you want to manipulate and move is to get your left hand on the left handlebar. This is going to be your main point of contact and the main point of your manipulation on the bike. You then put your right hand on the seat section over here on the pillion part. And then what you're going to do, if you want to practice this at home, is just get the bike off the kickstand like this. It doesn't take much effort to just lean the bike off the kickstand. And as you can tell, all I'm doing now is just balancing the bike. It doesn't take much effort to just keep the bike balanced. You can see here that I've got just a little bit of a finger over here on the pillion pad. I've got my fingers here on the handlebar. I'm balancing this motorcycle. I'm not using force to keep it upright. I'm merely keeping it on the plane of balance here. And so now what I can do is I can let it fall towards me and it'll fall on the kickstand. It's not gonna fall over anywhere as long as the kickstand is down. Now, in order to manipulate this motorcycle, we have to do a couple different things. You're gonna wanna do the same thing again. You'll approach the bike from the kickstand side, get your left hand on the handlebar, right hand on the pillion pad here, and lift it up. Now, once it's up and you're at the balancing point, you can simply roll the bike backwards. Roll the bike forwards. You can see here I'm stepping slowly from side to side, just moving this bike around a little bit, and I'm being very careful with my feet. I'm not clomping down the road here or clomping down the garage. I'm very gently walking it back and forth, putting one foot in front of the other. And now the cool thing that we can do is we can pitch the handlebars. This is what I meant about this method being much more flexible than the other method, because you can simply pitch the handlebars forwards and back, get the bike pitched over on its side like this. It's pretty easy. Now, a more advanced technique you can do here, if you're up for it, is you can actually pull the kickstand up. Now, the motorcycle doesn't have the kickstand down anymore, so if it starts leaning over this way, you're gonna have to catch it a little bit, and that's where a little bit of force does come in handy. But if you keep the bike on this very balanced point here, it doesn't take much effort at all. As you see here, I can move the bike back and forth. And the cool thing about not having the kickstand is if I need to position the motorcycle more to the left, I can use the shorter radius of the bike on its side and tilt it over this way. I can carve a much tighter arc if I tilt the motorcycle towards me and take an angle that way. Again, always keep 2 points of contact on the bike in case something happens. Don't let it get too far over this way because it's much harder to save if the motorcycle falls over that way than if it falls over this way. If the bike falls towards you, you can usually pick it up and save it right here. Now, the reason I mentioned to keep the kickstand up is because if you have the kickstand down and you're trying to manipulate this bike, it can get in the way here. And what I've seen happen a lot is that people will have the kickstand down thinking they can put the bike towards them, but in fact the kickstand has come up at some point of them moving the motorcycle, and then the motorcycle topples over. So this to me is the #1 method of moving a bike around a shop. It's really easy to do. As you can see here, we can take this bike, put one hand over here, walk it to wherever we need to walk it to, position it in the shop, position it for anywhere you need to, maybe tuck it in the back of a corner over here. And it's just a lot easier to move a bike around when you're standing on top of it and always keeping it towards you a little bit. But now let's look at one final tip and trick that you can use for your motorcycle to help park it and position it. Now the final trick I want to show you guys today is the kickstand turn. Now this is a bit more of an advanced moving motorcycle tip or trick, and I wouldn't really recommend a newer rider try this because you could probably scare yourself and drop your bike. But it's actually very useful to be able to pivot your motorcycle around a fixed point in a tight parking lot or garage location. So what you want to do for this trick is lock the handlebar all the way to the left. Put your hand on the pillion seat over here, and then it's gonna feel a little scary, but you're gonna pitch your motorcycle over onto the kickstand and pivot it around that point. So as I'll demonstrate here, you move the weight of the bike over, and then you can just walk it over on the kickstand over here. And then you can pitch it that way. So what I've done is I've done a 180-degree turn with this bike by literally taking maybe 10 seconds and pitching it over. If I were to do that in a more tight space, I'd have to do a bunch of, 10-point turns to try to get it turned around the other way. This is a very useful technique, and with enough time and practice, you can pitch it over any which way you need to. So I just went from left to right. I'm gonna go from right to left over here using the same technique. You get the bike over on the kickstand, you just walk it over the other way. Take your time as need be. And there you go, easy as pie. Now, the big thing to note is that some bikes like to do this and some bikes don't. That has to do with how big the kickstand shoe is. It has to do with the length of the kickstand, the size of the motorcycle, how heavy the motorcycle is. Obviously, it's a lot harder to kickstand turn a Hayabusa than it is a Kawasaki Z650. So if you are just starting out and you do happen to own a motorcycle that's a bit more heavy, this trick is a little bit more difficult. Now, some of you might say, but Yammie, aren't you gonna snap the kickstand by doing that? And I've been doing this trick for probably 4 years now, and I've yet to snap a kickstand on a variety of different bikes that I've tried doing it on. Kickstands are pretty dang strong, and 400, 500 pounds of motorcycle isn't gonna just snap them clean off. And if that does happen to you, please send me a DM because that's pretty crazy. I've never seen it happen before. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned a little bit of something how to manipulate motorcycles around in a closed space. Those are just my tips and tricks, and it will definitely help you if you practice getting a motorcycle, like I said, just on its tire like this. Just get the kickstand up, get familiar with moving your bike back and forth in a space, because it's really not that hard, and it will help you out a bunch if you're able to manipulate a motorcycle around. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Bummer for you, my little squid. This video is actually over, but lucky for you, there's plenty of other Yammie videos you can check out right over here. What's gonna happen to them? I don't know. I haven't seen them, but you can watch them right now.